In this video, we're going to talk about pitch deck. All right. So if you're not familiar with what's pitch deck, well, if you have a business and you want to show your business to investors or to clients, you can create a pitch deck, which will be a presentation that will explain to your audience what you do and what's your company all about, right? So you can create two types of pitch deck. So you can create a written pitch deck, which is more to create a very information-rich pitch deck that you can send out to your customers and clients or investors, and then they can read all about your company in detail, right? And the second one is to create a presentation pitch deck, which would be more in a bullet point style pitch deck, which you can present to people, and you will just have less information in the presentation and more visuals while you talk through those points and give them the information while you speak, right? But it will be mostly for the visuals. So today I'm going to share with you guys a presentation, a pitch deck that I created, a written pitch deck for the entrepreneurial project of my master's degree in entrepreneurship and innovation. I hope you guys enjoy this. If you do, please leave me a like because it helps me a lot. And also subscribe to my channel if you're not yet subscribed. I'll go through the pitch deck and explain why we did it this way, why we put it this information, and what was the thought behind each of the slides. All right, so I hope you like it. And with no further ado, let's jump into the pitch deck. Okay, my dear and fellow entrepreneurs, so I'm back here from my computer to show you the pitch deck from my master's degree in Entrepreneurship and Innovation at Lund University. And here it is, right? So I'm showing you from the platform we have created it, which is canva.com. And just so you check it out, the difference from our final pitch deck, which is this one, and from our previous presentation, I brought also a presentation we did for the finance module at our master's degree. Here you can clearly see the difference in quality from what we present in Canva right here, which look way more fancier and clean and everything. We put a lot more effort into the design, colors and pictures in this one than the other presentations we have created along the course. All right, so in here you can see it's a very raw presentation. We had the old logo right here, so we tried to make it more simple and more neutral, so it could be more a serious thing for the constructions sector, which is quite outdated, I would say. So they're not so open to innovating and stuff, so we wanted to provide a more sober feeling that we created right here. All right, and in here you can see like we brought a lot of information, so it is still good information we have in here, like all the financial analysis and everything, but the presentation itself, it doesn't look good. All right, so that's not what we wanted to present in for the pitch deck, and this is why we have decided to use Canva, which helped us a lot in this process. Not saying you cannot do that using the Google Docs or even PowerPoint, for example, but in my opinion, Canva makes your life much easier to create pitch decks like this, right? And you can use the free version. You have already a lot of things that are helpful and good to use. But also, if you want to spend some money, it's not so expensive. You can get the pro version, and you can do way much stuff that will make your presentation stand out. I'll show you some functions later on. But if you decide to buy the pro version, I'll leave the link in the description of this video. It's my affiliate link to Canva. So if you buy, I'll probably get a commission from that, which I would really appreciate, and it helps me keep creating content like this. All right, so if you want to buy it, just click in the link in the description. Thank you. All right, so let's keep moving right here. So for the design and the use of the visualized data, we have carefully selected the layout and typography, color, the images, everything you see in this presentation to give this more sober concept that we were discussing. All right. So the idea behind this concept is to bring a more serious aspect to the presentation, since the target niche we were targeting here was the construction industry, right? So we wanted to give that point. So let's move on to the next slide right here, which is the overview. Yeah. So let me just put in presentation mode really quickly. All right, so if we move on to the slide 2 right here, so it's the overview, and for the overview slide, we have followed the advice on the book that it's called Get Backed. That's from Bayer and Loomis, which is a great book, by the way, if you're willing to create your first pitch deck. And I'll have a link to this book as well in the description of this video if you want to check it out. It's a pretty cool book. So this book suggests that for the overview, you create a type of elevator pitch for this slide. An elevator pitch is something that you can pitch to an investor really quickly on an elevator ride, I would say. So it has to be like tops 1 minute presentation, or if you're reading, it has to be something very short. So to do this, we tried to capture the problem within the industry that we were working with, which is the construction industry, for example. And we wanted to show the pain of the customer, as well as providing a brief explanation of what our business idea is all about, some benefits of using the solutions we're proposing, and also why we're doing this, right? So that's very important as well. And shortening the pitch to an elevator pitch is always a challenge, right? Because you always want to include as much information as you can to provide the reader, whether it's a customer or an investor, with as much information as you can to make sure that he will see the actual benefits of your product or service, right? But we have tried our best here to trim down all the text and just leave the bare essentials, so we don't have a text heavy slide, which can be really bad if you're trying to create a good pitch deck. It has to be a balance within images and text. So this is why right here we provide like text on one side, and then we put an image, we put some lines to break down here, not having any colors in the slides, but still keeping it sober enough, right? So this is pretty much it for this slide. For the history slide, this is an additional slide from the requirements from our master's program, right? So we had up to 5 extra slides that we could include in our pitch deck, and I'll mention in this video which ones are additional to the master's program requirements, okay? So after having our supervision session with our program director, Craig, one of the feedbacks that we got was that we're still missing our story, right? So we present the product, we present the financials and everything, but he was still missing more about us, besides the slide we have introducing the team members in the end of the pitch deck. So for this reason, we decided to do this history additional slide. That is also a suggestion on the Get Backed book that I mentioned previously for you. And we tried to keep the slide visual by creating those boxes with our images on it, as well as some chunks of text. And we tried to do that by creating a sort of a timeline, because in the book it says For this purpose, a timeline would be the ideal, but having too much text on it doesn't look like good on a timetable. A timeline. We decided to create those boxes, and we inserted this arrows that you see right here to create this timeline effect. So you start from here and you know where you have to read next and so on, right? So we did that by putting those errors and it works, you know, so you have to be creative sometimes. So if we move on to the next slide right here, we have the opportunity slide. So for this slide, we have tried to present what are the market trends for the near future, I would say, in terms of housing, because we're talking about the construction industry. And we could present an opportunity for expansion in the construction sector, as well as for suppliers and services providers in this sector. So we try to tie the need for new homes to the fact that the population in Sweden is still growing and expecting to grow more for the near future. And this is on its own already representing the opportunity for the construction sector, and a good entrance point as well for modular bathroom pods, which is the core of this business idea that we're talking right here. So that even there is competition in the market from this industry, the market shares will be easier to get in the future, because the market has this need that the construction companies that are in the players right now, they cannot keep up with the demand. All right, so that is the message we want to show here in the opportunity slide. So you have to be clear. That's why we highlight numbers right here, so you give some impact and some emphasis on the opportunity of an investment or the opportunity for your clients. So it really depends on the focus of your pitch deck, but you should do something that will give emphasis to them, right? So for the next slide, we have the problem. So in this slide here, we tried to capture the most important issues that the construction companies are facing when they're building the traditional method instead of using modular parts on their projects. And this way we could give a nice overview of what the industry is struggling with, right? And the first topic you see on the left side, we got some numbers there from the McKinsey report that it's called Modular Construction. And they state like the benefits of modular construction being like 20 to 50% faster than traditional methods. So that's what you want to give emphasis with. But it's really important that you get information from good sources, like the McKinsey report was a great source to use in this one. Your investors and clients will probably like that you're using reliable sources. If they ask you what is the source, we could even put the source in the slide here. I think that would be a great addition to the slide. All right. So we did the same with the second point on the right side, and just keeping in mind always to use a reliable source. All right. So that is pretty much it for this slide. And then for the solution slide, our goal here was to provide a clear view of the business idea and the product itself, right? So we chose to do that both on showing the inside of the product. So you can see on the left side of the picture right here, this is the inside of a bathroom pod, for example, and also showing the outside right here before the installation. So you can see the pod, it's like a box before plugging and playing, like we used to call, right? we would make jokes around that it's a plug and poop type of business, right? But that's pretty much it. So we show both images right there. That's the only images we decided to use color to break a little bit down from the sober pattern that we created throughout this pitch deck, just because we wanted to give emphasis to the final product. And that's why we showed it in colors. And all the rest of the images in the presentation, you can see that it's in black and white, all right? Keeping this sobriety effect. So that is pretty much it from this one, and then you have just some text here explaining a little bit about the manufacturing of the pods, just to demonstrate it has quality. But in here you should give emphasis on why your product is good, what are the benefits, and so on, right? So for the next slide, we have the traction, validation, and verification slide, okay? So the easiest way to demonstrate traction is through growing sales, right? But we didn't have any sales at the moment we have created this pitch deck. So for that, we decided to create, to basically demonstrate our revenue forecast for the 3 upcoming years, which is an exercise we did for the finance module in our course. And we already had all the data, so it was just compiling the data and presenting in a nicer way than the previous PowerPoint presentation I showed you guys, right? So if you see the numbers right here, just talking briefly about it, you can see that we were expecting to reach 10 million euros in the 30 year of operation. And that can be like quite aggressive for a regular startup to reach this amount of sales in only 3 years in operations, right? So to better explain that we were still being like conservative on the projections, we created on the right hand side right here, this market share indicator, right? So here you can see a comparison of the market share of our business idea, how much we would reach in the 30 year in operation compared to our main competitor in Sweden. So it's like 4.3% against 19%. So you can see there's plenty of room to improve there, especially because the competitor was at the maximum capacity, 19%, and is the only manufacturer in Sweden. So there's plenty of room for new entrants in this type of business in Sweden, for example. So that's what we wanted to demonstrate. And then you have some text in here to explain this that I'm talking to you about, right? Because this is a reading deck, so you need to have some more information right here. So for the next slide, you have the customers, right? And our main goal here was to cover the questions of who is your main customer. So for the first draft of this slide, we just kept it very clean. It was just the title customers, and we also had the logos on the left side. We didn't have this graph right here, so all the logos were on the left side, and we had the image here on the right side, so it was pretty much clean. But after the supervision with Craig, our program director, it was still clear for us that we needed to provide some additional information about our potential customers, right? And because of that, we decided to move the logos from the left side to the right side here, which is black and white. And also the logos, we left them all black and white, so they blend nicely in with the background, and it's still clean. And we included this graph right here, right? In this graph, you have more information about the customers. So, and they're organized by the size of their turnover, which is quite exciting. So then you have them here, the biggest players, the percentage here for the market and in turnover. So that is quite fantastic to have this information and in a very clear way. So that's what you want to show. You don't want to confuse people with too many information. So it's good to have like one key information per slide. So here are the biggest customers. You provide just an additional of the turnover and how big they would be, right? And here you have their logo just to illustrate what you're talking about. So that's pretty much it for this slide. And then we have the next slide here is the customer's quotes or customers' insights. And this is another additional slide right here. Okay, so this was not a requirement, but we decided to add this because after speaking with Craig, he told us that even though we present a good pitch deck and everything, it was not so clear the customer side because he could not see the customer story in our pitch deck, and that would be very interesting to see some thoughts or quotes about potential customers. And we really liked the idea because we did a lot of interviews with potential customers to do the testings throughout the program. So we had a lot of quotes to get from there because we recorded all the interviews with the permission of the interviewees, right? So we just grabbed a few quotes from each of the interviews. Of course, we were not able to fit all the interviews in here, so we selected a few of them that we thought they were good for this pitch deck, and we included here with the picture from the people that were interviewed, right? So that was a very cool touch here that Craig asked us to do, and it looked amazing here in the end. So for the next slide is the market slide, right? So we call it here Swedish market because that's our main focus. And after like describing the customers and providing some of the customers' quotes, like we mentioned, we bring in this slide. So this is just building a story, right? And as you can see here, we provide the reader with specific numbers just to clearly define the sector. So like I said, you just give some emphasis on what you want to do. You have some text here to explain. And we also brought this chart here on the right side from a reputable source as well. And this is very visual, and you have like, but you just have like actual information, like historical data, and then you have forecast from specialists in the market, which is pretty cool to see, right? And then you can show an overview of how this looks in the future, right? So you just saw the market crashing, and then you see some perspective of growing back up. So that's nice to show for your audience, independently if they are clients or if they are investors. All right, so let's move on to the next slide. So we have the competition slide. All right, so for this slide, we listed the main competitors in the industry, and we also added like a brief description of how they're building their product. So we thought that this was important to kind of show why we're different. And to make it more visual, we added the map of Europe here on the right side. And we placed those icons here to explain where they're located, right? And after the supervisions with Craig and also the meeting with Fred from Slidebean, which is a company that it's focused mainly on helping startups to create better pitch decks. And we were very fortunate to get a meeting with them because Craig and all the staff from Lund University, they organized that for us. And it was super cool, right? They gave us a lot of tips, and one of them was that they mentioned to us that the slide was looking very good and everything, but we didn't have anything about Modular One here when we showed it to him. and he said it's definitely missing this piece in this slide. You need to include you in there and explain why you're different from your competition. Why are you better? Why should people go for your products instead of others, right? So we included a brief explanation here on how the pods are manufactured for Modular 1, our project, and also that it would be manufactured here in Belgium, and it would be closer to South Sweden, even from the Swedish manufacturer, that it's in the north of Sweden. So you have a good distance here, so shipping costs would definitely decrease a bit, and you're as far away here from Poland manufacturer, but they produce in a different manner. So you have to explain that in the slide, and this is why we included this right here briefly, and here the location, just to illustrate also this point of shipping. All right, so this is pretty much it for this slide, and then we bring you to the business model slide. And in this assignment of the pitch deck task, it was not recommended that we focus on financial model of the project or give any financial informations, right? But we have decided to show some of our financial projections in this slide for a couple of reasons. So the first one is because during the meeting with Fred from SlideBean, he highly recommended us to include a slide explaining to investors how the startup plans to make money. And besides that, the book that we discussed, Get Backed, also describes that this slide should contain like financial slides entering details like P&L, gross revenue, EBT, EBITDA, and so on. So combining those recommendations, we decided to create a slide that shows part of what was asked in the assignment. So the creation, delivery, and capture of the business, which you can see on the left side here. So here we basically tell how the company makes money, right? So we demonstrate the operational margin for a regular pod sale, delivery of the pods, the margins we get on shipping, and also how much it's spent in marketing and sales per unit, which is also known as customer acquisition costs, right? So the second part is here on the right side. So we demonstrate a clear P&L, a clear structure of a P&L, and we highlight the margins here on the bottom just to give emphasis on what we want to show, right? And here on the top, you have a brief explanation of why the margins are low in the first years of operation, and that we expect them to reach higher levels in the future according to our second phase of the business idea. So that's pretty much what we wanted to show in this slide. And moving to this slide, so you have the team. And for this slide, we provided only the key points like prior experience and education from each of the team members. And since we are a fully digital team, it was very difficult to grab a picture from all of us together because we are located in different cities here in Sweden. So I used Canva to create this slide, which allowed us to make a good looking slide and not being in the same place. So this is what I mean when you remove the background of the picture. So we agreed to take the picture in a blue shirt so it blends with our logo and the theme of the pitch deck itself. And then I removed the background from each of the images, just leaving us. And then I included this blue lines here along us and here on the bottom, just to give the same feeling that you have on the other slides that provide those lines in blue and keep this pattern going, right? So that's what we did for this slide, and in my opinion it looks great in the end. We included a picture in the background here, and with us with colors right here in the picture, making the fact that we are not a physical team and we were only working online. So we created this slide where most of the groups created a picture where they were physically together and provided something like ready to go without editing. But even though I don't have much of editing skills, Canva enabled me to create such a slide because of its features, right? But removing background, like I said, it's just a one click. You just click and it will remove it for you. But that's a pro version. And remember, if you want to buy that, please use my affiliate link in the description of this video, or just enter britslink.com/Canva. All right, so I would really appreciate that. So moving on to the next slide, we have the capital required, right? So both the book Get Backed and the instructions in this assignment, they recommended us to demonstrate how much money we wanted to raise, for what we wanted the money for, and the intended sources you want to get money from. But this is kind of an unusual slide for us because we negotiated a special deal with our supplier, and we got a letter of intent. And this letter provided us like exclusivity in sales here in the Nordic region. And it also eliminated the cash flow problem that we had initially. So it's kind of, it's selling to get a percentage of the sales, so you don't have a cash flow problem because of that. But to show that, we showed the previous analysis that we reached a cash flow need of 200,000 euros in case we didn't have that agreement, right? So that because in the original idea, we would purchase the pods from the manufacturer and sell them to the clients in Sweden. But for that, we would need to do a 20% down payment to our supplier and receive the money from the clients only according to the delivery of those pods, which would give us this huge gap in cash flow of 200,000 euros. So this slide kind of demonstrated to our investors, for example, that we have a good ability to negotiate, and by negotiating this letter of intent with the supplier, we just removed this cash flow problem from our business model, and as simple as that. So this was important to show in this slide right here. So for the next slide is basically a call to action slide, and this is also an additional slide. It was not asked to do that, but we added it to close the pitch deck. So it shows the same pattern from the cover. It's also the same image, but instead of writing the name of the business below the logo, we just placed the call to action, providing a landing page right there that has a contact us form in case investors wants to contact the team. So that's pretty much it, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this pitch deck. If you did, just leave a comment down below saying what you think about it and what we can do better if you want to see something else. I'll also leave a link to the video commercial that we created for this business idea if you're interested in learning more about it. We have created a video commercial also to explain what we do and why we do it, and that is for this business idea, the modular one. And I'll also leave it there in case you haven't seen that yet. All right, so that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you very much. All right, so this was pretty much it, my friends. I hope you liked this video. If you did, leave me one of these bad boys right here because it helps me, and also subscribe to the channel if you're not yet subscribed,
because I always post videos about entrepreneurship, innovation, and how to start your first online business, for example. All right, so subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you can get notified whenever I post a new video. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope this is helpful. If it is, please leave a comment down below saying if you liked, why you liked it, if you want to see anything else other than that I passed through my master's degree or on my website. Just put in the comments down below and I can create more content around what you need. All right, so I hope you guys liked it and I see you on my next video.